Hello everyone and welcome to the Chef's Table series. My name is Carol O'Connor, co-host. And are you ready for some football? Because we are here at the Chef's Table series at the Sons of Italy Hall. We have Mike Black of The Real Deal, and he will be making some party dishes for your football championship party. So he's going to start off with meatball sliders with a Parmesan crisp and basil. Next is buffalo chicken mac and cheese, delicious. And last but not least, mushroom ravioli in a cream Marsala wine sauce. So we're going to bring Mike and Joe over to know how to make these football party dishes.
Hi, I'm Chef Joe Murphy, co-host of the Chef's Table series. The show is produced by the Chef's Table Foundation, dedicated to supporting U.S. homeless veterans, young high school age adults that have either the high school diploma or a GED equivalency. And today we're very pleased to have chef partner of The Real Deal restaurants located in Roslindale, Jamaica Plain, and Brighton, Cleveland Circle. I wasn't sure if that was Brookline, but it's Cleveland Circle. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're West Roxbury, Jamaica.
West Rock, yes. Right. And we've decided that we would like to do something for a special football event that comes around once a year, and we wanted to do something that would be great for a football championship party. So Chef Michael has put together 3 meals or entrees, and what are we going to make today?
Well, first off, we're going to do a meatball slider, homemade meatballs as we make at The Real Deal. Also, that's going to have a Parmesan crisp with some fresh basil on a slider roll that we make as well.
Great.
After that, we're going to go a little bit more elegant. We're going to go to a wild mushroom ravioli. It's wintertime, it's comfort food, and it's a really great dish. It's got a Marsala wine cream sauce. You can make the dish that I'm going to make today exactly the way that I make it at home. We actually source the raviolis locally here in Hyde Park from Serino's, and some of you might know the brand.
Yeah, and they were good enough. You know, because we're a nonprofit, we rely on people donating, and Serino's was good enough to donate these raviolis for the show.
It was very nice.
Right.
After that, we're going to go with some really good game food, buffalo chicken mac and cheese. So you can't miss with that.
Right,
You'll see.
Right. Well, we've got 3 great dishes, so I'm sure we want to get rolling. So what's the first thing?
First thing we got to do is make the meatballs, Joe.
Okay. One thing Chef and I talked about, pre-production discussion on what we want to prepare. Everybody has their own favorite tomato sauce. So we opted not to show you how to make a sauce. Although if you do want to learn how, these recipes and a copy of this show can be reviewed or rewatched on your home computer, so you can cook along with Chef Michael. The recipe is there, and you can have a great football championship party.
That's right.
All right.
Now, I'm not going to try to tell you how to make your grandmother's sauce or your grandmother's meatballs. This is my recipe. I hope you enjoy it.
Right.
So let's just get this thing started here so we're ready.
Yeah, while you're starting, one thing I was remiss to bring up, we always talk about mise en place because the show is designed to be instructional. French term, it means everything in its place. In this way here, you're not going to miss an ingredient, or at the last minute, if you remember you forgot one, you're not running over to your cupboard to get some sort of an herb or a spice or whatever might be missing. And so mise en place. So Chef, tell us what you're going to use here, if you don't mind.
Okay, so we're going to start with 80-20 ground beef. At home, feel free to substitute some veal, some pork, make it a little bit more flavorful in the meat content. But For this purpose, we're just going to go 80-20 ground chuck.
Right.
We start with some grated Romano cheese.
Great.
Throw that in there. Nice nuttiness, gives it some salt content as well. So keep that in mind once you get to the salt and peppering stage. Just keep in mind that that has salt in it as well.
And Chef just gave you a great tip. You know, when you're cooking, it's a very creative process. He put that Romano cheese in there. It has salt in it. So remember, you don't want to over salt.
Correct.
Okay,
Very
great.
good. So also we need some egg.
Yeah.
So we're going to go about 1 egg per pound. The more meat, I find you got to add an extra egg after. Once you get past about 3 pounds, you might want to add another egg or 2.
Right.
So we have our egg in there. Then we're going to go with some seasoned breadcrumb.
Now, do you season your own, I'm
We do,
presuming?
yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, a little tip. This is my tip. I do not buy seasoned off-the-shelf breadcrumbs.
Right.
Generally, they have an aftertaste, in my opinion. If you don't make your own, which I do make my own with a food processor, but if you want to buy ready-made breadcrumbs, buy the plain and then add your own.
Absolutely. Then you can control what's in there. There might be a spice
Right.
you're not a fan of. Maybe there's some thyme in there and you say, this isn't for this dish.
Right.
So we go there. Then I add a different type of breadcrumb, panko breadcrumb. It's a Japanese breadcrumb. A lot more coarse, but I like the absorbability of this breadcrumb for meatballs. They yield a nice, softer meatball, not too tough to chew.
Right. Yeah, I hate a hard meatball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the breadcrumb is what creates the hardness or softness.
Right.
The egg is a binder. The breadcrumb allows for that different texture that you're looking for.
Great.
Then one of my key ingredients is tomato paste. Adds a nice richness to the meatball.
Right.
And as it simmers in the sauce, that all these different flavors start to come out. It's very rich.
Yeah.
So the tomato paste is very important for me.
Right.
And then garlic. Got to go with garlic, but for me, if you put raw garlic in a meatball, unless you cook it all day long, you might run into a point where you get some undercooked garlic, and it can be kind of, it'll be floral, but sometimes a little bitter. So today I have some roasted garlic.
Right.
Why not, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I always put garlic. And I'll tell you, Chef and I were talking earlier, meatballs again. My mother makes the best meatballs, my grandmother, which is fine. And this is something new for me. I've never seen a tomato paste in it. And I can't wait to try it, but Michael's mother-in-law, her family is from Sicily, Calabria.
Right.
And what are they putting in their meatballs?
So when I get introduced to my wife's family, first thing I notice is my mother-in-law puts raisins in her meatballs. And it sounds strange, and it took a minute or a couple of times to get used to, but now I actually love it. And actually, it lends a good amount of sweetness.
Yeah.
It kind of cuts that acidity.
Right.
And it's actually very common in southern Italy, in Sicily, Calabria. And I guess it came from the spice trade way back in the day, and they started to experiment with these different worldly foods.
Chef just gave you a tip. If you look at Asian cooking, everything is in balance. Sweet, sour. And you'll find that in pretty much every cuisine to some point, but adding the raisins will add that and give you that little bit of balance. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think I've actually had that with the veal meatball, where there were some golden raisins.
Golden raisins, right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
They're a little less shocking when you come across a golden one. So now I'm just going to finish with a little bit of salt and pepper. And remember, we got the Romano in there already, so we don't need too much.
Right. Now, Chef, let's talk about what type of salt. And I always talk about this. You will not find table salt in a professional kitchen. Right. And I strongly recommend for home use, kosher or sea salt.
Absolutely. I agree. The flakes are larger. You get to coat easily. You actually get to see your coating as opposed to table salt, which can disappear on you. But the sodium content is far lower.
Right.
So we're almost ready to go here. Just one last thing.
Yeah.
We need some fresh parsley to finish up.
Right.
Okay. Italian parsley.
Yeah. The flat leaf.
Chopped up.
Yeah.
All right. Now we just get our hands dirty. Start mixing away here.
Yeah.
okay?
I just had my nails done, so
Okay,
I'm not
Joe.
going to do it.
I'll do this part, okay?
Okay.
You just relax.
All right, thanks.
All right, so I can tell we have the right consistency. Not too firm. Joe, if you could grab the rest of those breadcrumbs, I think
Where are they, right?
right there. Yep, you have that one.
Yeah.
Yep, dump that in.
Okay.
And then the one in front of that. There we go.
All right. Yeah,
right.
Chef talked about panko. If you're not familiar with panko, it is considered a Japanese breadcrumb. It's a much larger flake.
Right.
And it's great for absorption. And even if you're doing a breading, it's a
it's
much
fantastic.
nicer, what I call the bite. When you're eating it, you get a crispier outer crust. So
Joe, if you don't mind, put some olive oil in that pan for me.
absolutely.
I'll start.
Yeah, all I want to ask you, Chef, you use olive oil or
That's good.
do you use a blend?
For this purpose, I'm using a blend.
Right.
Because of the high smoke limit on this oil. If
Right.
you use extra virgin olive oil, you run the risk of burning, scorching,
Right.
and then you got to start over. And
Right.
if you use it, you're going to taste that
Right.
scorchness. So
Yeah.
for right now, we're taking the meatballs right from the bowl right into a medium hot pan, and we're just going to sear the meatballs on all sides. Seals in all those juices and gets them ready to simmer in our sauce. Now you can cook your meatballs in the sauce raw. I mean,
Yeah.
lots of people just put them right in the sauce.
I've never done it, but I know that people do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with it. You definitely want to cook it long enough to make sure they're fully cooked. This
Right.
kind of helps set them up,
Yeah.
but also
Yeah. You know, there's another tip, and you brought this out. We generally do talk about this on every show, particularly where you're going to use an oil. I love to cook with EVOO because I feel that flavor really adds to the dish. But the smoke point is much lower than a canola oil, and you know, you don't want to burn the oil. So if you decide you want to use the EVOO, I have no problem with that personally. I know a lot of chefs that just cook with that, but it'll burn very easily. You'll see it smoking and turn a golden color. So, you know, very acceptable. If you want to mix an olive oil with a canola oil, you're still going to get a level of flavor by adding that. And I think that's what you said you did. Is that correct, Chef?
that's right.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna take a look at these. So basically, you just want to get a good sear on one side, flip it over,
Yeah.
and then we'll start simmering these in our sauce. And we got a good color on there, Joe.
Yeah.
Got a nice,
great
good brown color,
Yeah.
and that's what you're looking for.
They smell great.
Thank you.
Did you know the Irish monks, when they left Ireland back in the 1400s?
I was there.
Right. They actually went to Europe and taught the Italians and the French how to cook. Did you know that?
Thank God.
The Italians always think that's funny, but historically, it's true.
All right. So now, Joe, I want to get my tomato sauce going so we can.
Right.
Hey now.
Yeah. Well, we got that pan hot.
That's hot.
Okay. If you find a pan is too hot, and I'm kind of glad this happened,
Thanks.
just take that pan right off the burner for a minute and let it come down to a temperature that you know is better. So you do not have to worry about, you know, the pan burning. You know, if you want to finish your meatballs in the pan, I always use the touch method. And after you've done it enough, you'll know when that meatball is finished. I just do it by, you know, the resistance level.
All right. Now we're back down to earth on the sauce.
Okay, good.
Jeez.
That's okay.
All right. So our meatballs are simmering away, searing on both sides.
Yeah,
We're going to give those another minute,
yeah,
and then we're going to get those in our sauce. And what you'll want to do is simmer these in your sauce for 20 to 30 minutes. What you really want to do, not only finish cooking them, but you want to start to get that tomato sauce to really impart inside that meatball.
right. And conversely, it also will help flavoring your sauce.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
it's doing two things. So it smells great, Chef.
Thank you, Joe. So I'm going to start putting these right into our simmering sauce here.
Okay. It's nice to see. I was kidding Eric about your meatballs, and I said, well, how are you going to show people how to make the frozen meatballs you buy? And you think that I was grabbing his wallet. We make our own. So that's you generally will not find that in a smaller, sandwich type shop that does catering. Most of these places are buying pre-made meatballs, and they're just thawing and heating them up in the sauce. So it's great. But
Not
it's
us, Joe.
no, well, as I said about the Irish teaching the Italians how to cook, here's a perfect example. All right, we wouldn't do that. Nobody's laughing. Are they moving? Are they moving towards me? I don't want to look.
I think we're good. I think
Okay.
we're good. Let's run
right.
that off. All right, so
There's our first dish.
to complete this dish, we're actually going to take a couple more ingredients
All right. I'll get rid of that for you,
to
Chef.
compile this meatball slider.
Yeah,
Now, I'm going to hop over here.
yeah.
Okay. Now, what we're using, we make these in-house at our bakery, Sugar.
Yeah, I want to make a comment on this. You never find a sandwich shop making their own scratch breads, rolls, whatever. So you're getting a very fresh product, which is absolutely great. And I don't know the bread baker that you people have, but I know of him, and he's a well-known bread baker from the Boston area.
Yes.
So
They do a fantastic job, and they do it every night. Whatever we ask for, that's what we get the next morning. So
that's
it's an
great.
amazing
Yeah,
tool to have.
right. Well, this, absolutely, it's the real deal. So, which really makes a difference.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay.
Now, these meatballs are about ready to go.
Excellent.
And what we have here, super simple. This is a Parmesan crisp,
Yeah.
and it has one ingredient, Parmesan cheese.
And
that's it.
And that's the shredded.
The shredded Parmesan cheese, I mean, it's best if you can do it yourself, but
Right.
the store-bought stuff is fine. Some of them have a little more or less additives to them, some coatings,
Yeah.
some clumping coatings and whatnot. But
Right.
if you can shred it yourself, that's the best.
I have a question.
Shoot.
On that shape, is it the binding just because it melts and cooks?
Absolutely.
You don't have to add egg or
Nothing.
anything else?
So what I do is I take a baking sheet,
Yeah.
you line it with foil, and you put pan spray on there
Right.
so that it doesn't stick. If
Stick.
you forget this pan spray,
Yeah, you're going to be getting
trouble.
You're getting chunks.
It'd be
Right.
hard to get off there.
Right.
But that's all you need. You need an oven preheated
Yeah.
to 350,
Yeah.
a baking sheet,
Yeah.
foil lined, and pan spray. And you want to put these in the oven about 10 to 12 minutes, depending on your oven. But you got to watch them. They can go from soft and chewy, light white like color, and then they go light yellow, and in a minute they'll be
Then-
orange.
Right. And then
And they taste like a burnt cheese cracker.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so what temperature are we talking about here?
We did this at 350
350?
for about 10 to 12 minutes, but again, watch them.
Watch them. Yeah, because everybody's oven can be a little bit different, so...
That's right. Now, so what we're going to do here, I'm going to take our bottoms and our Parmesan crisp. And one of the things that I love about this is I'm always looking for something crunchy.
Yeah.
And it's a hard texture to get in cooking.
Yeah.
Whether it's something fried or
Yeah.
breaded, cutlet. Crispiness is something we're always looking for. So
Right, yeah.
This helps with that.
Oh, sure
texture
does. Yeah, and that's part of, a lot of chefs, when they're putting together a dish, they're looking for color, for the bite.
That's right.
You want soft. Again, it's this balance in your cooking. So I think this is a great addition.
Thank you. So we're gonna fish out a good one and get this going here.
Oh my God, it looks great.
That one there. One more.
Okay.
Now,
Little-
finish this off with a little fresh basil.
Oh.
What I like to do is called a little chiffonade.
Chiffonade, yeah. And really, very simply, take some leaves, stack them up, you roll them, okay, together, and then you go through a slicing motion. And Chef, you're going to do
Right.
that now? We can show the people?
Most important thing, as well as stacking and rolling, is you have to run the knife through the basil,
right.
as opposed to a chopping nature.
Right, yeah.
Basil is very, very fragile,
Delicate,
delicate, and it can bleed. And when you get fresh basil cut and you're ready to go, and then you see it all turn black, that's why. So
Yeah.
what you want to do is keep the tip of your knife on the board, and just nice, smooth run across as little damage to the basil as possible.
Right. So Chef just gave you some great tips. The first tip I want to talk about it is a delicate leaf. You don't want to chop it, because if you do that, you may slip and hit the co-host, who's also delicate and sweet, okay? So, but the real point is, your knife is not a chisel. It's not a chopper.
Right.
Chef just gave you a technique. You know, use that knife,
Right.
okay? It's not meant to chop. And I don't care if you're cutting meat, potatoes, whatever. It's a slicing motion.
That's right. So now we're just going to finish this off. Some fresh basil. Really brings it all together.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're going to top these puppies.
Yeah.
And then for your party's sake,
Wow.
you may want to just find, a nice little fancy toothpick.
Yeah.
And that way they stay together
Oh.
for you good.
What a great idea. Great looking plated dish. And I brought up a new term last week. It's for a presentation. It's called a wicked ruby. And that looks absolutely fantastic.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. Thank you. Okay.
This is a wild mushroom ravioli with a Marsala wine cream sauce.
Oh, sounds absolutely delicious.
Yeah, it's fun to make too.
Yeah.
So, we have our water boiling for our raviolis when we're ready.
Right.
We're going to start with some blended olive oil,
Yeah.
not EVOO,
Right.
for this purpose.
Yeah.
So we get that hot in the pan. And this is the type of dish that you do rather quickly. This
Yeah.
is a saute dish. This is something that, you crank this out, you plate it, you eat. There's no waiting around.
Right.
It's like risotto.
Yeah.
Nobody waits for, risotto waits for no one, right?
Exactly. And you use a cream in this?
I am using cream.
Okay, yeah, because if it's sat around and cooled, it's going to break down.
It can.
And okay, so why don't we just quickly go over your mise en place
Sure.
for this dish?
So what we have some butter,
Yeah.
some shallot, and then we have three types of mushrooms, technically. We have a cremini mushroom, or a baby bella, you might know it better in
Yeah.
the store. A shiitake mushroom,
Yeah.
which is a nice mild mushroom, great mouthfeel.
Yeah.
And then right here I have a reconstituted dried wild mushroom. So this
wow.
is a mixture of cremini and
Yeah.
porcini, which have amazing flavor.
Flavors, right.
There's some oyster mushroom in there, maybe some black trumpet.
Oh, excellent. Wow.
Yeah,
It's a great dish.
I'm ready to go.
Okay, so you're using unsalted butter, I know.
Yeah.
Very good.
So we're gonna start with a little bit and add a little bit later.
Yeah. Butter obviously is a great flavoring ingredient, but it's also a great finishing product, because at the end of your dish, if you want to give it a little bit of a sheen, add that butter, and that
Very
will,
end.
at the very end, it'll give a nice shine to
That's
your
right.
finished product.
So then to this butter and oil, we're gonna add our shallot.
Oh, boy. Okay.
And you wanna sweat this down.
Yeah.
You're not looking for a lot of color. You're just looking to get the
Yeah, you want to
soften it up.
Right, almost like it's like an onion. It's from that family, but
Right.
you want it to be translucent or
Yeah, I mean, by the time this whole thing's done, these onions will be cooked through. But you just want to get them started,
yeah,
and then we'll add our mushrooms.
yeah.
I'm going to turn this guy up.
Okay,
Let's get rocking.
right, okay,
So we have our cremini mushrooms
yeah,
that I've just sliced.
yeah. I'll take that. Oh, hey, you're not supposed to throw anything at the co-host.
Watch out, Joe. Okay, and now we have our sliced shiitake mushrooms.
Yeah,
I like to mix up as many different mushrooms as possible
Sure.
for this dish. You get all those earthy tones.
yeah,
So we'll get this this thing going here. We're going to add some crushed red pepper flake. Not a lot,
good.
just enough to
Right. Yeah,
just enough to wake you up.
right.
All right. So you do want to cook down your mushrooms a bit. Mushrooms are full of water.
Yeah,
So in order to get any caramelization, that water needs to evaporate.
Yeah.
And then you get some color on your mushrooms.
right. Good tip.
Thanks. So now, as these saute,
Yeah.
we're about to go in with some Marsala wine.
Oh, wow.
You can buy a sweet Marsala, a dry Marsala. It's really up to taste. I feel like the sweet lends well to this dish, and you can control it with a little bit more salt, and it won't
Yeah.
be too sweet.
Right.
But buy a decent Marsala. You can get it in the store for $6, $7, $8. My motto has always been, don't cook with wine you wouldn't drink.
Yeah, and that's really, if in culinary school, they'll tell you that. Use whatever you like to drink.
Right. Use the last glass of what was left over the night before.
Right,
I'm not a big fan of cooking wine.
right.
You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So now we're going to add our Marsala, and you got to be careful working with alcohol and open flame. So we're just going to add our Marsala. This also deglazes the pan a bit.
Yeah,
Any of those really good mushroom bits that are stuck
Right.
to your pan.
yeah. And
It's
Chef
must-
just gave you a great tip there. On the deglazing piece, what you want to do is get all that caramelization off the bottom of the pan because there's a lot of flavor there.
Absolutely.
Right,
Don't leave it behind.
right. And you also want that hot enough to cook that alcohol off.
That's right.
So,
That's important. So
Yeah,
from time to time, the real good test for me to know when the alcohol is cooked off is kind of give it a waft.
Yeah.
And if it goes right up your nose, you gotta let it go a little longer.
That's exactly how I do it. I just,
It's probably a scientific method, but that's
well,
my
you
method.
can tell, by doing the sniff test that
Right.
that alcohol is burnt off.
That's right. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to take the water that reconstituted our dried mushrooms,
Yeah,
and this actually adds another depth of mushroom flavor. Now,
Right.
you'll see the color of that.
yeah. It's brown.
Yeah, that's strictly water. So
Right.
we've basically made ourselves a mushroom stock.
Nice.
Okay,
Yeah.
and all you do is just take warm water and let it sit, and then you're gonna have this awesome stock after about 10 or 15 minutes. And then we're gonna take some of these mushrooms and just chop them up really well. And then I can see we have some porcinis,
Yeah.
some shiitakes, some oyster mushrooms, and all these things are really gonna come together at the end here. So I'm gonna take that right into the pan.
Excellent. And this really is showing you what mise en place can do for you. He had his whole mushrooms in the stock, and he poured out some stock. And as he did, he's still letting his wine
Right, my wine's cooking down.
cooking down. You've got your other mushrooms still cooking, and then, it gave him time to do his
Right.
reconstituted mushrooms because you had your mise en place. You're not running around.
Exactly. All right, so now I'm gonna do one more test. We're ready to go, Joe.
Very good.
All right, so now this is where we add some cream. Now, for this, I just like to add enough cream to still be a light brown sauce.
Right. Oh, it smells delicious.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay. Now, is that light cream, heavy cream?
That's heavy cream, Joe.
Excellent. All right.
And then we need a little bit of salt and pepper in here.
Yeah. And I noticed you're using a coarse black pepper.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Fine black pepper, especially when unless you mill it yourself, it just doesn't have a lot of flavor left after it's been pulverized ultimately.
Right.
But I always keep a fresh pepper mill next to me, and that's typically how I do it.
Do it right.
So we're simmering away here.
Okay.
I have some fresh parsley.
Yeah.
And
So you're adding some fresh parsley.
yep,
Good.
some fresh parsley.
Yeah. And that sauce is still reducing and thickening.
It is.
So, that will adhere to your
So the ravioli.
to raviolis,
Very
right?
well.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, Joe. Let's get these raviolis going.
Yeah. Okay.
So again, like I said before, these are sourced locally from Serino's. They make
Yeah.
handmade pastas, and
Yeah.
they do an awesome job. If I could make these better myself, I would do it. But
Right.
these are awesome.
Wow.
So wild mushroom raviolis right into our boiling water.
Mm-hmm.
Salted water, always.
Yeah.
Salty like the ocean, they say.
That's it.
But then as one of my cooks today, I said heavily salted, and it was more like the Red Sea.
Oh,
So we had to start over. Anyway, so here we go. So we have our sauce simmering away.
yeah.
And I'm just going to taste it for salt content. That's right. That's ready to go.
Good.
So the last thing to finish this dish
Yeah.
is some grated Romano. Now, again, this does add a little bit of salt content, but what
Yeah.
it does is it acts as a thickening agent as well.
Right.
This cream sauce has reduced a bit, but as we add this Romano,
Yeah.
it's going to be able to coat these raviolis a lot better.
Oh, yeah. Now, if you use the Parmesan, it's going to be sort of almost like a melted mozzarella. So that grated Romano will not
Yeah, you don't want to use
clump
it
up.
shredded. You'll end
Right.
up with a
Clump.
stringy, chewy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it ends up
Right.
sticking to the bottom of your pan.
Right.
So I'm going to grab a plate.
Okay.
We're ready to go.
Yeah, one indication to know when your raviolis are done, they're floating pretty well. So that's an indication they're coming close to being done.
That's right.
Anyway.
Yeah, they don't take very long.
Right.
Fresh pasta doesn't take very long at all.
Right.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take these raviolis
Yeah.
right out of...
I have a slotted spoon if you
Oh,
want.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah. There should be one of these. There it is. Okay.
Thanks. So we're going to take these raviolis out right into our pan. And again, this cooking water has some starch in it. And it's also going to help bring this sauce together for us.
Yeah. And anytime you're dressing your pasta or ravioli, just keep one thing in mind. Do not overcook them, because they will finish cooking in that hot sauce as you are dressing your pasta dish. So I got to tell you, it smells great and it looks great.
Thanks, Joe.
Mike, you put the oil in the water when you cook the raviolis?
If I was cooking more, I would have, to make sure they don't stick together.
This looks and smells fabulous. Excellent.
Put this on the top.
You want to just
Yeah, I'm going to clean that up. Spoon some of these
oh yeah.
mushrooms over the top here.
Oh, absolutely.
And then
Yeah.
clean it off.
You want to clean your plate up a little?
And then we're just going to hit it again
A little
with my
parsley.
favorite. More fresh parsley.
Yeah. Oh, that is great. It smells fabulous also. Great job,
Thank you.
Chef. Okay. We're going to move that up here. Okay. Okay, Chef. We're going to do the third dish, and it's a buffalo mac and cheese.
Buffalo chicken mac and cheese.
Excellent.
Doesn't get any better than that, Joe.
Right. So,
So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly make a bechamel, which
so you're doing a roux at this point?
that's right.
Okay.
So we're melting butter. And typically a roux is equal parts butter and flour.
Right.
For this purpose, I don't want this sauce to be super thick with flour because we're going to add a lot of cheese.
Right.
All we're doing is allowing us to not add as much cheese to get thick, right?
Okay.
So we got our melted butter here.
Right.
We're going to add a little bit of flour.
Right.
And if there's a term for this, Joe, by all means, but it's just a thin roux, I guess you could call it.
Okay. You know, a roux generally you hear using flour, but you could use cornstarch. Asians use cornstarch in their thickening, but they'll do it with just cornstarch and water. But the roux is richer, and depending on the depth of flavor, you know, if you want a light brown, middle brown, when you get towards that darker brown, you're getting a more nutty flavor. So just keep that in mind. And it'll also, for your eye appeal, keep that in mind.
That's right.
You know, if you don't want a dark-looking finished sauce, then go to the middle of the road.
Right, so now to this thin roux we have, we're adding some whole milk.
Excellent.
The high fat content in the whole milk is going to help us keep this sauce from breaking.
Great.
We don't,
There's
if you want
yeah.
to go with skim milk, good luck.
Right, yeah. Chef just gave you a good tip about, you know, the whole milk will not break apart as opposed to a skim milk with that finished sauce. And another thing, when you melt that butter, you're actually cooking the flour to get rid of that floury taste.
That's right. So we have the start of our bechamel, so all we need is that
Yeah.
to come up to a simmer.
Right.
And we're going to start adding our cheese.
Oh,
so
great.
For this, I like to use traditional, American cheese for part of this.
Wow.
But what I ask is make sure you get deli quality cheese, not single
Packaged,
packages
right,
or
yeah.
something like that. If you go to your deli and ask them to cut you some cheese thick, they'll do it.
Right.
So if you go like maybe ½ inch thick, and then
Yeah.
you can cut them into dice.
Okay.
So we got our American cheese
Right.
diced up, but I also add cheddar cheese
Nice.
for some nice sharpness.
Now, one thing I wanted to ask you, I noticed you're not using an orange cheese which basically there's no difference. It's just the coloring.
color.
It's rennet.
Right. Well, for me, this mac and cheese is close to my heart.
Oh,
And no, I like the white cheese in this, and then we're gonna add some buffalo chicken to it, so it's gonna be plenty orange for you.
oh yeah. So when you say it's close to your heart, in other words, you telling me don't push it, or what are you saying here?
No, I'm just saying I'm a mac and cheese
Guru,
purist.
yeah.
I
Okay.
I don't know. There's something about it.
Yeah.
So you can see, Joe, it's starting to thicken up on us over
Oh
here.
yeah.
Right?
Excellent.
Okay, so you gotta, you get that high quality cream content
Yeah.
in your cheeses, and you can really go with any type of cheese you like.
Right.
I just like the American cheese for the
Yeah.
creaminess.
Yeah.
If I just went with cheddar, it can get kind of gritty on you.
Yeah.
It can also break because there's a lot of oil in cheddar.
Right.
And with good quality.
Yeah, and American
sour cream.
cheese is made up of a combination of cheeses. It's just not a single milk product.
Right. So what I'm gonna do, just like I recommend as you cook anything, is
Yeah.
taste, taste, taste.
Right.
And we don't need to add any salt. I'm
Excellent.
gonna add a little bit of pepper,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna add, what we have here is a spiral cooked pasta, but you can use really any pasta. The only pasta I don't like with mac and cheese is penne or ziti. It
Yeah.
just doesn't
Right.
feel right.
Right.
So something fun. These are little spirals.
See, when the Irish went to Italy, they had to teach them that difference.
Man, I was there.
There you go. Okay.
So here we go. So our pasta's in. That's been cooked al dente.
Yeah.
Because we're also going to start to, we're cooking that down a little
Sure.
bit more now. So now here's the fun part. We're going to take our buffalo tenders. You can use grilled chicken. You can use chicken out of the oven. We at The Real Deal, we have the luxury of having fry later. So we have
Yeah.
a really great flour mixture and fresh tenders. So we fry those up. And
Then you cube them.
that's right. And then we're going to add plenty of hot sauce to this.
Ooh.
You smell that, Joe?
Yeah, it's not.
It's not your thing?
Yeah.
All right, so we got our hot sauce on our buffalo chicken.
Right.
A little bit more for good measure.
Oh.
Okay? So now
Yeah.
we take our creamy cheese
Wow.
mac
Yeah.
and cheese mixture,
Yeah.
and we're gonna dump this right in here.
Yeah.
We're gonna fold it.
Ooh, I can smell that hot sauce. Another thing the Irish taught the Italians when they went over, when you get that hit in the kisser and you want the hot sauce, you go, ooh, Madone. So that's something we taught you people as well.
The Irish said, "Oh, Maron."
Oh, yes, they had to. They can't take this heat.
Plate here. Okay, and we're gonna fold this chicken into this pasta, right?
Yeah.
So you see, that's the orange you were looking for.
There you go. Yeah.
So we're gonna plate this up here. And we're almost done.
Wow. Now, what about your blue cheese? You add that on top?
That's right, Joe. Now, we're gonna take some blue cheese. Now you can, if you're a baked mac and cheese guy,
Yeah.
do it. You can bake it, throw some breadcrumb on top.
Yeah.
I prefer it this way.
I do too.
So we're gonna garnish with a little blue cheese that complements that buffalo
nice.
chicken really
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Okay, and then some chopped green onion
Yeah.
for garnish, and you're ready to party.
Wow. You know, Gorgonzola, when our people went over to Italy, we brought the culture for their blue cheese. So nice Gorgonzola blue cheese is what I prefer, but that is a great plate. I'll tell you, it looks fabulous, Chef, and we want to thank you. And one thing I do want to mention is the fact that on this last dish, we didn't talk about mise en place. But please go to our website, the Chef's Table Series.tv, and you can rewatch the show and also get the recipes. We really want to thank the real deal. That was a tongue twister.
Well, thank you, Joe.
Yeah, and we want to thank Chef Michael Black and also your partner, Eric Petit. And this has been great. And I think if you're going to have a football party for a championship party, please try these. I can tell you, I haven't tasted them, but the aroma is fantastic, okay? Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Chef.
Joe.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Hi, I'm Margery Gann. I'm a registered dietitian at Ethos in Jamaica Plain. And for 30 years, as a wife and mother, I've been helping people eat better and healthier. Today, I want to talk a little bit about lentils. Recently, I went to a meeting where lentils and pulses, which is the name for the entire group of crops, were really coming front and center because of their incredible nutritional value. Lentils have about 230 calories per cup, so they're fairly low. High in protein at 18 grams of protein, high in carbohydrate at about 40 grams per cup, and pack a lot of fiber. For a woman, almost the entire amount you need for a day at 16 grams. Great source of copper, folate, and iron, although the iron isn't readily absorbed, and easy to prepare. Unlike dried beans and peas, which need to be soaked for a couple of hours before you cook them in order for them to be tender all the way through, lentils cook in about 20 minutes. Millions of kinds of lentils. These are some common ones that are available. These are black lentils, and they're very small, tender. This is the common brown lentils. This is the one we all know from lentil soup. And these are red lentils, and these are about the quickest cooking. These will cook very, very quickly, and actually, if you're not careful, will get very mushy. Lentils are, as I said, easy cooking and really versatile. There's the typical soup, salads, main dishes, lentil burgers or a vegetarian burger, and they'll pick up the flavor of any spice that you add. So you could add South Asian spices like cumin and get a really tasty, nutritious meal. If you don't want to cook for 20 minutes, we've got another way to buy them. Here, it's lentils in a sauce, ready to go. It's in a pouch. Zip it open. And this package is actually microwavable by itself. Take the top off, open it, put it in the microwave. In about 2 minutes, you've got a healthy, tasty lentil dish. So lots of alternatives for lentils. A good source of protein, carbohydrate, and fiber. Easy to prepare, inexpensive. Try them. You might find a new taste treat in there. Thank you.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Chef's Table series. My name is Carol O'Connor, co-host, and this is the restaurant interview segment of the show. And I am here at The Real Deal in Cleveland Circle, and I am here with co-owner Mike Black. So Mike, how did you come up with The Real Deal?
Well, we were looking to come up with a concept that was what we were about, and it was great sandwiches, you know, all the best and doing everything above bar. So we thought The Real Deal was kind of a good play, as well as a good value, but it was like top notch. And we came up with the first place we did in 2005, which will be 10 years.
Oh my goodness, that's right.
It's amazing.
West Roxbury, right?
West Roxbury
Yep,
was 2005.
where I grew up. Yep, I remember that.
Yep, and then
And that was a big deal.
it was a big deal.
So goofy.
We took over an iconic spot,
Yes, you did.
formerly occupied by Steve Sline,
Right.
and had been there forever. It was an institution, and we were honored to have that opportunity to come in there and really, you know, brighten up the area and
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of give something, a little new flair on,
Yeah.
on West Roxbury, and we're happy to be there. We love it.
And then you opened up another location,
We
correct?
did. 2008, we opened in Jamaica Plain, right on Center Street.
Yep.
Busy area, bustling neighborhood. Great dynamic of clientele
Yep.
and young people,
Oh, yeah.
artsy people.
Yep.
It was just perfect fit for us. So we've been there since 2008, and now we're here in our new location.
Like Cleveland Circle, it's
in Cleveland
beautiful.
Circle. Yeah, we love it.
Yeah.
It's a little different of a look, a little bit scaled down of a menu.
Yep.
But we really make a big focus on our seasonal items that we like to rotate out.
Yeah, that's what Eric was saying. So name me some of your menu items here.
Well, we like to rotate it about every 6 weeks, so twice
wow.
per season. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But I like to bring in whatever's makes sense around that season.
Exactly.
If I can get stuff local in the summer and the spring, then I love doing that.
Yeah.
We have Allendale Farm literally right
Yep,
down the
we
street.
do.
We love to source tomatoes and all sorts of different produce from them,
Yep.
as long as we can. And it could just be, one little ingredient can spark an entire menu of ideas.
Exactly.
With salads, different types of vinaigrettes for salads, different cheeses. And it's really just about what's feeling good around that time of year. And then when we get to the cooler months,
Yeah.
I love cooking at that time. That's when it's like
Oh, yeah?
comfy, cozy, heavy, a little bit heavy stuff. But,
Yeah.
that's when you really
Well,
want
that's when people want it. Like,
yeah, the stick to the ribs
Right.
kind of
yep,
sandwiches
exactly.
and
The
stuff.
thick sandwiches, the heavy, the pizza loaded
Yeah,
with stuff.
the crazy burgers and
Exactly.
stuff like
It's definitely
that.
the burgers.
Yeah,
absolutely.
totally.
Now, do you come up with a lot of the menu items?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always coming up with new ideas.
Yeah.
People always
And
ask
the
me, like, when do you
names,
come up
too?
with this? Like, I just think about food all the time. If I'm not thinking about it, I'm watching it on TV or I'm researching online, different techniques. I mean, we really use a lot of different cooking techniques, even though we're just technically a sandwich shop.
Right.
I mean, whether it's braising, roasting, smoking, grilling, all those things are really inspiring to me, and we have so many options to really showcace those different techniques.
And what you did on the on the cooking segment
Right.
with Joe with the mushroom ravioli and the other type of the sliders.
Yeah, we did sliders,
Yep.
and we did some mac and cheese with buffalo chicken.
That-
which,
did you come
and
up
talk
with
about
that?
stick to your ribs? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's rocking.
yeah, the audience loved that.
Those are fun.
So good.
Yeah, that's from our catering section of the restaurant,
Yeah.
and we love doing that too. That gives us a little bit more of a broad scope of things that we're able to do, and not have to fit it on a bun.
Right.
Or
Are you and Eric going to be opening up any other real deals?
Never know. You
Yeah.
never say never. We don't like to go too big too fast.
True.
We spread things out as much as we can. It takes a lot to get these
Oh my
things off the
goodness, I'm
ground.
sure.
And it's not only just the manpower. There's financing and a lot of planning, and I don't know how much more I can do on my own, but we'll cross that bridge.
I'll help.
Okay.
You, me, and Eric
Let's
will
get
help.
in. Let's do it.
Now you also have a goodie place called Sugar Bakery.
That's right. We
Now,
do.
when did that
attached-
open?
That opened in, forgive me, I think 2007.
That's okay.
That took over another iconic spot in
Right.
West Roxbury,
Yep.
Hanley's.
Hanley's
Was there
Bakery.
forever, since the
Forever.
20s, I think.
Before we were born. We
yeah,
weren't born
like
in the
people's
20s.
grandmothers used to go
Yeah.
there. Yeah, like it's crazy. But again, another honorable place for us to be able to take over. And since then, it's been gangbusters.
Oh, yeah.
So you've heard of the Bramble, and
Yep.
we can't even keep them in the house.
Right.
So
And I see that you carry some of the desserts here.
we do.
That's
We
behind you.
like to bring some of the most popular items
Yep.
to the other stores and give people a taste of sugar.
Yep.
But if they want the whole variety, they got to
Yeah.
really go
Now,
to that location.
Tell the audience about the bread, which I just found
So
out
the-
when you were cooking with Joe.
Yeah, the bread is really one of the best things for us to have. That
Yeah.
is, we make our own bread at
They
Sugar
make their own bread.
every day.
That's
Every
such a
day,
big-
and it's to any spec I want, anything I need.
Mm-hmm.
Do different specials, but we make real Italian focaccia for our paninis. Instead of some people just use a sub roll and
Yeah,
press it, but
just throw it
not
in.
us. So we make our own subs. We make a seeded egg roll for our burger that I
Yeah.
absolutely love. We do braided rolls, Italian
Uh-huh.
style, just classic. All the sliced breads, everything.
Yeah.
really everything for
Yeah.
catering and all sorts of stuff. So it's
I'm sure
really,
you're busy with catering, huh?
yeah, it gets pretty nuts.
Yeah.
We're all
Wow.
kind of doing what we can from each location,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and West Roxbury certainly does a lot of catering
Yeah.
over there.
Well, Michael, sounds like you and Eric have hit the real deal with all these
you.
restaurants, and they're
Thank you.
really great. And,
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot
Yeah.
of work, but it's a labor of love.
Yeah,
so.
and Joe and I go there. I get the arugula salad.
Yeah.
Then Joe sneaks over to the bakery because he likes the half moons and the whoopie pies.
Yeah,
But
me
what
too.
I like, which you and I both do, but I stole it from Joe Murphy, is you take the cupcake and you take it from the bottom and put the bottom
right.
on the top, and you eat it like a sandwich.
It doesn't get, you don't get frosting all over your
Right,
nose.
and the frosting's in the middle like a sandwich.
It's perfect.
Love
it's
it.
the way to do it.
It is the way to do
I
it.
knew there was something. We had a connection.
Yes.
When you told me that, I said, that's it.
Yeah, the cupcake. So, Michael, thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. So, everyone, this has been the restaurant interview segment of the Chef's Table series. I'm here with Mike Black of The Real Deal in Cleveland Circle. If you want to watch the show again, go to the chefstableseries.tv, and we'll see you next week.
What we have here, super simple, is a Parmesan crisp.
Yeah.
And it's just one ingredient, Parmesan cheese, and that's it.
And that's the shredded.
The shredded Parmesan cheese, I mean, it's best if you can do it yourself, but
Right.
the store-bought
And
stuff.
anytime you're dressing your pasta or ravioli, just keep one thing in mind. Do not overcook them, because they will finish cooking in that hot sauce as you are dressing your pasta dish. So I gotta tell you, it smells great and it looks great.
Thanks, Joe.
The Chef's Table series is shooting on location in cities and towns across Massachusetts. If you would like to suggest your favorite restaurant or attend a live taping of the show, please visit thechefstableseries.tv.